I wasn't aware of how much poverty there is in Kingston. I wasn't aware of how difficult it is for some people to get access to healthy food, to fresh food.
The volume of food that this organization is able to gather from individuals and communities in Kingston who have surplus food and distribute that to meal providers and charities, nonprofit groups, hot meal programs, food pantries, even women's shelters, youth shelters, all kinds of organizations. I think that the impact is twofold.
I've been partnering with Love and Spoonful for probably 4 or 5 years now. And the biggest impacts that that's had with us has kind of been twofold. One has been with the experience and of course the nutrition benefit for our residents. And the other one being the way it's impacted our budget.
Impressed by the generosity. I was impressed by the amount of food that's being dropped.
Because many of the donations that come through Love and Spoonful is fresh produce that's grown right here locally, we have this on hand for the kids to be able to use, to be able to eat, to be able to make things with, and in many occasions they've never had that opportunity before.
Wonderful, healthy, often organic, fresh produce to women who are in crisis.
It's a sense that somebody cares about them. Somebody truly cares about what's happening to them today.
The other main area that it impacts for us is our budget. Because of course food is one of those things that we have to provide to our residents, and we don't put any limits on food limits. We want to get people away from wanting to be able to, having to hoard food or think that they have to save it because there won't be any there later for them if they don't.
Having Loving Spoonful come to the shelter has been a great savings for us.
And before we started partnering with Love and Spoonful, as well as several other food programs, our food costs were the second highest expense that we had here. With our partnership going strong 4 or 5 years down the road, food costs have now fallen to number 4. And so that puts a pretty big surplus at times into our budget that we're then able to take and apply it to other areas.
Last week, I was fortunate to have 2 shifts at the market, both on Tuesday and Thursday. And in those 2 shifts, in about 4 hours total, I received about 150 pounds of produce on behalf of Loving Spoonfuls. For a moment, I just stepped back and realized just how much produce was coming through this program.
Like my first interaction, I was like, wow, who are these people and what they are doing and who's doing it and who's behind it.
And Loving Spoonful does what it does with 1.5 or 1 3/4 paid staff members. All the rest of the work that they do, all this unbelievable quantity of food that's moved around our community is done by volunteers.
A Loving Spoonful is different than many charities in that it's a new kind of idea, a new way of looking at the problems of food insecurity and trying to think of it as in a global way, that it's part of our whole food system, it's part of our whole community system.
Workshops that are all centered around food skills, teaching and working with people to show them how they can process vegetables while they're in season, looking at eating on a budget, eating healthy food, making things from scratch.
21 garden plots that the community, the local residents can utilize for free and grow their own vegetables. And they're talking about how to grow, and then that leads into how to eat healthier.
The workshops are all done with agencies that work with our target groups, which is people who maybe don't have access to food education, people who are from low-income neighborhoods, people who are marginalized.
We can provide them with some plants and seeds, and they're outside, they're getting fresh air where they otherwise wouldn't be outside.
Through my work with Loving Spoonful, I've seen people come alive when working with food, and people who you wouldn't normally expect to care or to be excited. And what it's about is just giving people opportunities.
Behind me, this is the Loving Spoonful's Acorn Garden. So the Loving Spoonful has volunteers come here once a week, usually, and they plant, grow, and harvest, and everything that's grown in this area here gets donated to the Loving Spoonful in their different food programs they run.
A lot of the people that garden are socially isolated. What I find is happening more and more each year is that they're developing friendships, and they will share their produce with each other.
This garden and the Loving Spoonfuls in a whole is it's important for building community. It connects tons of different people in Kingston, and it's for a good cause.
I think Loving Spoonful is set to become a real leader that asks difficult questions about what our food system should look like in Canada, and works towards models of self-sufficiency, food as a human right, food security as something that exists in Kingston for all people. So I could see this organization being able to expand its programming and its meaning amongst a growing food movement in Canada.